Welcome to Childcare Rockstar Radio. I am your host, Kris Murray. Childcare leaders around the globe are breaking through challenges, leading the way in innovation, testing new best practices, and impacting children and families in a much more powerful and positive way than ever before. Each week, join me for interviews with early childhood leaders and experts that will leave you inspired to become the next childcare rockstar. Now, let's go. This is Childcare Rockstar Radio, episode 162, featuring Matt Arnerich. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are talking all about parent engagement. This is a topic we have not hit on the podcast in quite some time. And I'm very excited to introduce you to my guest today, Matt Arnerich. He is the Director of Brand and Communications for Family, Famly. They are a software company, a global company, serving over 5,000 schools and centers in 18 different countries in regards to parent engagement and so much more with regard to center management and reaching out and giving daily communication, email, text, photos, videos, all the things to our beloved parents for the children that we care on their behalf. So it's an incredible episode. We dive into Matt's background and all the things that he's experienced, both inside and outside the childcare industry, his passion around parent engagement, which comes through full force in this episode, and how we can use parent engagement to develop our early childhood business, how to grow enrollment through parent engagement, through the word of mouth and referrals from other parents, and how to get parents to be our raving fans in the world. And that's really what we all want, is we want to have this beautiful community of humans, of parents and children that are our raving fans and our advocates so that we can impact more kids, right? So that is what today's episode is about. And before we get all into it, I need to thank two different organizations that are helping sponsor today's podcast episode. First and foremost, Line Leader, old and dear friends of ours. I have mentioned Line Leader by Childcare CRM many, many times before because of its ability to help you boost enrollment, improve family retention, process payments, and manage your staff. In fact, one of my former Empire members, Julie Roy, used Line Leader's CRM to take her enrollment from 300 students to 1,000 students in just 3 years, along with the Childcare Success Academy. So it really does work, especially hand in hand with other technologies and business masterminding and coaching. If you use that together as a recipe, you will be unstoppable, just like Julie was and still is. Line Leader's unified platform offers everything you need to market and manage your centers under one single login. And you can learn more about it at lineleader.com. So definitely go over there and schedule a demo at lineleader.com. I also want to thank Discount School Supply for sponsoring today's episode. Discount School Supply offers the best prices on quality products for early childhood educators and parents of young children, from arts and crafts, active and dramatic play, STEM, manipulatives, furniture, and more. Teachers and caregivers save more with Discount School Supply. Just give them a call at 1-800-627-2829 or visit them online at www.discountschoolsupply.com. All right. Here on the personal side, I am developing a new podcast studio. That's right. This office here in my home is going to become my new podcast studio. I'm working on different things on the walls and branding and bringing over the neon sign and building it out and decorating it so that it is amazing. But in the meantime, we just closed our Carbondale office and we moved all of the stuff that was over there to various other offices. Our main corporate headquarters is in beautiful Crested Butte, Colorado. And so we did hire a moving van a couple weeks ago and move all of our stuff over there. And then I took a bunch of personal items and things and decor here to my home office here in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. So essentially, these are all small to mid-sized mountain towns, basically located in and around Aspen and Crested Butte, Colorado, basically kind of in the middle of the state. So if you're not familiar with Colorado and the mountains, just wanted to give you that as a visual so you could kind of imagine where I'm podcasting from. And this is my home office. So I've done some Facebook Lives and some other podcasts from here from time to time. But if you're a newer viewer or listener, you will not be familiar with this space. And especially if you're listening to the podcast, you won't actually be visualizing anything. But if you do want to get a visual, just a reminder that I'm on YouTube, guys. And so all of my content, 300 or 400 videos now I've got on my YouTube channel. And you can just pop over there and type in childcare success and you'll find me on my YouTube channel. And every single episode, starting with about episode 30 or 40, is also on video format, starting with Martin Bing. We have done a multi-format, multimedia format for the podcast now for several years. So with that, I want to welcome in Matt Arnerich. He is an incredible human and again, comes to us globally from across the pond and with Family, which is a great software tool for you. And this episode is really, it's not an ad for Family, guys. It's all about content related to parent engagement, to strategies, and to fresh ideas that you can bring into your program to further develop parent engagement and parent relationships, which is the essence of your business. So without any further ado, let's jump on in to episode 162 and enjoy the episode and take some action, take some notes from what you're learning. That is a best practice from every single episode here on the podcast. All right, let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I am thrilled today to bring you a really cool guest. His name is Matt Arnerich, and he is coming to us all the way across the pond from, I believe, Denmark. Is that what you said, Matt?
That's
okay,
right.
Denmark.
Copenhagen.
Very, very cool. Copenhagen, Denmark. Very, very cool. A country I have not yet visited, but hopefully will. And Matt is with Family. And we're going to learn more about that. He's the director of brand and communications there. Matt, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Kris, thanks so much for having me. We're gonna have to write that, aren't we? You've not been to Copenhagen yet. We're gonna have to have you over here at some point, surely.
Definitely. I've heard a lot of really cool things about Denmark and that whole kind of area of the world. I have several things on my bucket list there. So I'll have to put that higher on the list now that we have a connection with y'all. So you're in Copenhagen, and are you from Denmark? Tell us more about how long you've lived there and anything cool that you want to share about.
Of course. I think Denmark is like number 3 or 4 in the world for best English, as a foreign nation, but they do tend to have an accent. So you'll probably hear when you hear me speak that I'm not born and raised here. I was born in England, actually, to 2 Kiwi parents. So I listened with great interest to your podcast recently with Simon from over that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, born and raised in the UK, moved out here 7 years ago, haven't looked back. And yeah, been a family ever since I moved out here. So kind of started off very early on in their journey and now taking it through right the way to where we are now.
Very cool. Yes, we had an amazing visit to the land of the Kiwis. And I've still been processing and thinking about it quite a bit. It was an incredible 9 days over there. Tell us a little bit more about Family. What is this platform called Family and what does it do?
That's a great question. So Family, I joined Family as employee number 20 or so. We were about 4 years in there, and that was kind of 2017. And 4 years into the journey, it really started when Henrik and Anders, the 2 co-founders, Henrik, his young daughter, Olivia, started what we call Børnehave out here in Denmark. And he got handed a paper parent book. And he was like, it is 2013, at this point. I can't believe this is still how we're operating. Him and Anders both had a tech background. And that was really the start of the story of thinking there's got to be a better way to support nurseries and centers in this. When I joined, we were really, doing a great job here in Denmark, loads of nurseries loving and using Family. And they were just about ready to say, okay, it's time to break it in the UK. And, that's when I got involved as kind of marketing hire number 1. and we got humbled the first time we headed over there. There's this kind of story that's gone down in family folklore of Anders and our first VP of sales, Jonas, going over to this nursery conference. And the first person coming up to them and saying, cute parent communication app, come back to us when you've got invoicing.
Right.
We were from the land of the Nordic land of Denmark. Everything is kind of run through the state, super easy. They just love this parent communication angle. But over in the UK, providers have got a business to run. And I think it was such an important part in our journey, coming back from that and saying, we've got to build a world-class invoicing core. We've got to get staffing in there. We've got to get pedagogical tools in there. We've got to build the best system. But now when we look back, we think, what a blessing that we started there with family communication, because it means that everything we've built since has been with collaboration at the forefront, getting families involved. It's a platform that connects, home and the center with all of the bells and whistles that you'd kind of expect from a modern platform like ours.
Okay, so it really does all the heavy lifting of a typical, what we call childcare management software, operating software. It does that as well as family communication.
That's absolutely right. So we like to call ourselves, fancy, some bloke in marketing came up with this term. I won't point at myself, but we like to call ourselves an early childhood platform, because you're absolutely correct. We do everything that you'd expect from a modern childcare management software. We handle your invoicing, we handle your billing, we handle parent payments, everything when it comes to ensuring that you're staffed correctly and in ratio. All of those back office tools are there. The thing that makes us different is that because we started there with families, that collaboration with families is, you'll see it in our numbers, the amount of families logging on every day. And once you have that, everything else becomes so much easier for your center. Can't wait to dig in a little more to that later on, because I know we're going to talk about that all important parent engagement piece.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you, Matt, for that. So tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of your journey. Give us more about any highlights that you'd like to share.
Sure. So I was thinking a little bit about this beforehand, where did my pedagogical journey start? And I could say it started at my first job at Harpendon's kind of premier indoor play center. It was one of those big soft play centers, not necessarily a lot of curriculum going on there,
right.
But certainly a lot for, busy parents who wanted a few hours to themselves. So,
yeah.
Drinking a lot of slush puppies, running around with about 15 3-year-olds hanging off my arms.
Wow.
I wouldn't necessarily say that's where my, that's where my love of early childhood started. But when I came over to family after my kind of start of my grown-up career as a copywriter and journalist, to find a company out here in Denmark who was really at the forefront of trying to work with these centers, work with settings to improve their businesses, to understand what's going on, to build a kind of modern tech platform that's actually really, helping them out in their everyday life. That was so exciting for me, and coming on so early on in a company, I came in with very little early childhood experience and just had the opportunity. My first job here was as kind of resident blog writer and copywriter and content writer and journalist. Just had the opportunity to interview a bunch of amazing people, create content that helped settings, first of all in the UK, to grow and to understand what's going on around them. And I don't know, I was wondering whether you had the same thing when you started out, Kris, when you're a brand that's as big as the Childcare Success Company, when you're as big as brand as we're lucky to be in the UK today as family, creating content, working with people, your inbox is flooded with requests. I don't know if you remember back in those early days when people were like, who are you? What do you want from me? Do you really want me to come and do this for free? That kind of hustle and grind, you must remember that back in the day, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And while you were talking about all of the copywriting and communication journalism background that you have, I was thinking about, also being an early writer and content creator as well, and then also being featured on y'all's blog. I've been in 1 or 2 articles, I think 2. I was featured in the family blog, which is very, very cool. So you guys reached out to me a couple times in the second, between 2013 and 2019. And I was really, really excited to share and be part of your platform and just share, on your blog, because especially wanting to get more into a global audience, I think that's one thing that sets you guys apart, is that for us in the States, we are still enchanted to some degree, speaking for myself, about what goes on in the world of early learning, ECE, in other countries. And so that was one thing that I loved being asked to be part of your blog and be a guest expert on your blog. So yes, while we continue to get inundated about content, I still feel like content marketing is one of the best things to do, especially for a new business that's trying to make their mark. So I'm definitely a thumbs up girl when it comes to content marketing. So you're talking my talk right now.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
It's an absolute blessing to get to have you on the blog and hear that expertise, early on in our journey out there. But it's such an exciting position that we get to be in. At the end of the day, there's not that many like global companies working in this space. There's a lot of really, and I'm not just saying tech companies, like global companies working in early childhood. There's a lot of big US companies who are kind of comfortable, understandably, with all of the jobs that there are to do there. We're learning the hard way that operating in each state is really like operating in a completely different country, out here in Europe.
Yes.
It's really, we love having that global perspective. We're now in 18 different countries. We have 5,000 plus settings in the UK, a few thousand in Germany, just starting our journey with our first couple of hundred in the US. And we're up in Norway, down in Africa. We have the opportunity to really connect a lot of people. And we'll get on to talking about this later, right? But it's really interesting to both see the things that are the same everywhere, and also the things that are different, which is maybe where the power really is, because you can learn from where someone else has cracked the problem somewhere that maybe in your own country you haven't quite got there yet.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Absolutely agree. And I think that this became even more apparent to me when I went to New Zealand and spoke and did the keynote, is that all of the same pain points that they're having are oftentimes things that we have in the States and Canada. And, we actually have Peruvian clients, we have UK clients, we have clients from all over the world. So I love the global nature of what you're speaking, which is, best practices in early learning, the business of early learning do cross all the borders of the countries. This is a global experience that we're having. But at the same time, there are definitely nuances and differences between the countries and across the states. So recognizing that, but I think it's very, very inspiring. Hopefully the listeners to this podcast are inspired by the global nature of what we've been bringing lately in the content. So really glad to have you here and learn more about what you've been experiencing. And I love 18 different countries and 5,000 centers. I mean, that's huge. So you guys have definitely made your mark and you have good market share in these, in different parts of the world. So welcome to the States, I guess. Right?
Yeah, thanks. Exciting. We're, in a way, I feel I was talking about myself back then in 2017, just starting to learn. I feel like it's so exciting. I'm back there again, delving, we've been out in the US for a few years now, but really just starting to ramp up now, crossing over 100 clients for the first time pretty recently. Our CEO has just moved out there with his family, which is again showing our kind of commitment to really growing our business out there. But it's so exciting as a kind of leader in the business to learn new things. That's why I was listening to your podcast in the first place again, trying to learn from all these different people, coming back to that. So really exciting to get another global string to my bow and to learn more about this new place we're trying to grow in.
Yeah, I love it. And in fact, you guys will be at the summit, and this episode is coming out on October 12th, the first day of our Childcare Success Summit. So that's kind of fun timing because you'll be there with a booth, right? You're being there
Absolutely.
as an exhibitor.
I think it's our third year in a row. It's I think the first event 3 or 4 years ago we first went to over in the US, and it's just been our favorite event ever since, Kris. It's the one thing we hear every single time from our sales team out there, from how well the event is run, from how many great people we get to talk to just how your customers and your clients are the best. So interesting in conversations and that, that growth mindset you talk about all the time. So that's why it's a great event for us. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make the flight out there. Our team's going to be out there, and maybe next year I can get those plane tickets booked and be out there for October 12th.
Yeah, I'll put in a good word for you in Orlando, Matt.
Yes, please.
No worries. So what is a fun fact something that most people do not know about you?
It's a great question. And I had to text, I had this beautiful thought out about this, that I thought about, indefinite, like how I was going to talk about all these exciting things. But the truth is, most of your listeners probably have no idea who I am at this stage. So I had to text.
Okay, we're getting to know you. It's good,
right?
Yeah.
So like probably anything I say. So I texted my girlfriend. I was like, Suvi, my partner, she's Finnish. What is a good fun fact? And she can say, you can tell them about how much you love cricket, typically British sport, and about how you managed to knock out your front tooth playing cricket last summer. Whole thing came out. And what I learned that day is apparently you could put teeth straight back in. Like I know people will rubbish the British dental system. I thought this was it. I thought I was about to foot a huge dental bill. Apparently teeth, if you get them back in there quick enough, they can hold. So there you go. And a tip for your listeners, if you do ever lose a tooth, stick it straight in a glass of milk, apparently. That was what I learned that day. So that's a fun fact. This tooth here has been out of my body and back in again and still holding strong.
Wow. And your smile looks great. That's fantastic. Thanks for the milk tip. I had no idea. Yeah. Another really weird fact related to liquids and healthcare is that apparently if you get really bad, like a bee sting, if you pour vodka on it, it will make your bee sting go away. So there you go. Now we have 2 fun facts involving everyday liquids. Well, I don't know about vodka, but
I'm worried that we're encouraging people to walk around with a daily vial of vodka on their person, Kris, just in case a bee sting comes.
Hey, this is childcare. Probably half the people listening to this already have that. No, just kidding.
Hey.
But they definitely have milk. We know that.
Look, I have to say it's one of the things you'll know it better than me. Coming into this industry for the first time 7 years ago, childcare people can party.
They really can.
No one else I know.
They really, really can. And especially at our event, a big thing about our event is that we help fill the cups and bring their growth mindset, just bring their happiness and their level of joy back, because they need that annual refilling of the cup. And also the bar is always very, very lively at any summit that you might attend. So, but yes, they definitely need to blow off steam, and I don't blame them. So let's talk about parent engagement. One subject that you're very passionate about is parent engagement. And luckily that's what you're doing in the world of family and in your business. So tell us more about how parent engagement can really make a difference for a business, and how does that, maybe also how does family, the platform, actually help with parent engagement?
Sure. So, I mean, I definitely want to go on to the business point in a second, but actually, first of all, there's one reason why parent engagement matters, and it matters because of the children, right? Like at the end of the day, the job of all of the listeners to this podcast is one of the most important ones on the planet. They're nurturing young children during the most important phase of their child's life. We know this from research. We know from, economists like James Heckman, from all sorts of, neuroscience research, that those first 5 years matter more than anything else, right? And at the end of the day, we now live in a world where a child is growing up in multiple different places. They're at home with their family, but they're spending a huge amount of those first 5 years in your center. And actually, if you're not being consistent in your approach with that child through home and through the time at your center, then you're not going to give that child the best chance to flourish. I know you just had one of your children, your last one, I think, fly the nest, but you'll remember, Kris, when they're at that young age, they are just sponges. We actually have it here because we have a lot of people coming to family who don't live in Denmark. And they'll have like a 3-year-old come, they'll join the local nursery, and the local nursery say, don't worry about the Danish, they'll pick it up in like 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can tell you, I've been at it for 7 years. Danish is not an easy language.
Right.
So in fact, like the ability of young children to learn things, it's the most exciting time. Mm-hmm. We have to make sure we keep that communication key. Just a classic example I tell people all the time is, how many conversations have you had with your 5-year-old or your 4-year-old in the car on the way home, where you say, how was your day how was your day at the center today? How was your day at nursery today? How was your day at kindergarten today? And you just get you get a blank stare. Because they're tired, they've had an exhausting day. If you have, and this is where I love applications like ours and all the other ones out there doing great work, is if you can say, hey, I saw you were out in the forest today, or I saw you were playing with your favorite truck today. Yeah, I was playing with my favorite truck. Here's what I did. That opportunity to engage people,
Yes.
Always say it. What are the two worst times, the two most difficult times to have a conversation in a childcare center? Drop off, pick up, right? Two busiest times of the day. And you're expecting to have these really important conversations with parents. And we really hope and know that our, people using Family, they still have those conversations.
Yeah.
But the other bits, the bits and pieces, the photos, the updates about, what they've eaten, all the little bits and pieces, you can't waste those precious seconds that you have at drop off and pick up talking about that stuff. But it is so important in those continued conversations that you have at home. So absolutely makes a huge difference to your business. And I definitely want to talk some more about that. But it also matters, parent engagement matters because it matters to the children, right? It's the most important thing you can do for their well-being. When it comes to the business side, I also, put my marketing hat here on and say, what are your customers? Your customers are your families. And what do we know about business? Customer is king, right? So what kind of service are we providing our most important customers, those families, is so important in local communities to ensure that they are feeding back into the other people they know. Parents are overwhelmed with adverts, with options, with all sorts. At the end of the day, we know the number one thing that gets them that helps them choose what center they put their child in. They go to their friend who's got a child who's 6 months older than them, and they say, "Where did you go?"
Yep.
And so the experience that you're giving that parent, we go to Logan's, down the road, whatever it is, we go to the, Little Miss Tree houses down the road. They're great. They send everything through this fantastic app. We get updates throughout the day, or we really know that they care deeply about our little one. And they're always, they're always doing everything they can around they have great curriculum. This is the kind of things that will boost your enrollment numbers more than anything else. Your product is your best marketing. And so you cannot afford to sleep on that parent engagement piece of your business, or else your business is not going to survive.
Yes, absolutely. 100% agree. I love what you said about the clarity of the two busiest times in every center, in every parent's day, and every director's day, to be honest, is drop off and pick up with all of the chaos and the coming and going. But yet directors and owners really seek to have those relationships and those tight bonds with parents and children, but parents especially, because those are the 2 times a day we get to see them. So I think just nuancing the communication methods of when parents first enroll with you and you're getting them set up on the platform, but also setting them up to, these are some ways that we want to check in with you. So our typical checkpoints are going to be with you in, during the day, we're going to check in and we're going to create a time for you to come in and actually have a conversation, or we can Zoom chat. And we're going to want to do that at the first 30 days and at the 6-month point and at the 9-month point and maybe on your annual. But I think, because I think we forget, Matt, to be honest, a lot of times operators of schools, we get into that kind of day-to-day, and I like what you said, because it brings us back to that point of clarity, is trying to have those very important conversations for trust and rapport and relationship and connection at drop off and pickup. It's not going to work well. It's not going to be an effective method of communicating. So I love what you shared there and the importance of parent engagement. Super good.
And I've spoken to so many great, actually real deep pedagogues who've also talked, for example, about the difficulty sometimes of talking about these things over children's heads. Like, we think children are not listening to what we're saying.
That's right.
That conversation that you're having at pickup time, I'm so sorry, Sarah, but little Johnny, he had another accident today. Like, little Johnny's listening to that. And he doesn't want you to be having that conversation over his head. Yeah. There is no need to be having that at that time. And there's so many other better opportunities to have it. And I just think, I'm lucky enough to get to work with such an amazing network of people using our platform, and some of the just incredible things that they've taught me about the best way to interact with parents. If I could just give you one more example, I think one of the things that we really pride ourselves on in Family is that it's a two-way communication, right? So parents, they can leave notes, they can send messages to the room, they can also upload photos and so on. And we have a fantastic setting down in London, run by an amazing friend called Yasmin Darling. And she operated this idea of what she called circular parent diaries. And it was this idea that at the start of the day, the parents would send a quick update telling them what had gone on that morning. And at the end of the day, or at some point towards the end of the day, the educator would send a message back about what's happened during the day. It might be something like, he's not slept that well. Or, grandma's been here this weekend. He loves grandma. She went home this morning. He was feeling a little sad. It's again, another thing that just so easily gets lost at drop off. But that's the context that's going to allow us to manage the behavior that's going on in that setting, or the context that's going to allow us to understand why, Charlie is a little bit reserved today.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those kind of abilities for me, we can provide a platform, and that's wonderful. And I love our product and everything we've created in terms of how easy it is to use and how many families and centers love it. But it's only as good as the people using it. And I'm so lucky to get to listen to all these amazing use cases of how people are using this for the better of the children and for the better of the families that they're serving.
Yeah. I just did a podcast episode recently about emotional intelligence and how having more emotional regulation and awareness of children's emotions can help, as well as adults, of course, can really, really help enhance their learning and how much they retain in their learning experience and all the different, their whole, obviously their whole experience as a child. But what I love that you said, the whole two-way communication and just the little nuances of, grandma left this morning and Johnny's feeling a little sad. And so talking about feelings in the app and a parent communication, parents coming in and then teachers going back and talking about and having that emotion-based language through the app, as well as, of course, in person, I think will really also be very, very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it's just, it's so funny. I feel so sorry for little Johnny because I use him in every single example in any of these conversations.
I know. Why do we use Johnny? Yeah.
And it's like, there's no other names on the planet.
Yeah. Well, you use Charlie. Charlie's good too. So we can,
I snuck that in. I'm moving out of the realm of Johnny, just like bit by bit.
Mm-hmm.
No, but absolutely. And that's something that we really pride ourselves on, is that ability for, parents to use it. We've just launched, I think 2 or 3 months ago, our first live translation in the app, which essentially allows parents who have English as an additional language to automatically translate anything in the newsfeed to their own home language, right? Whether that is Spanish, Hindi, Turkish, Finnish, Icelandic. And it's just another thing that I've never met an Icelandic person, by the way, who doesn't speak perfect English. So I don't know how useful that's going to be.
Right.
But like just having that ability to immediately, get back. This is kind of where we're trying to go in terms of, we know that we're coming into a new place for us in the US. We've got to bring different stuff. This is just one of the things I'm so excited, because it's kind of changing expectations about what it means to really reach out to all of those kind of, hard to reach parents that you don't get those relationships.
Yes. I definitely hear a lot from our community of listeners to this podcast, owners, directors, managers, about being just struggling with those hard to reach parents, especially post-COVID. People tend to ghost more. People tend to be isolated more, and seeing more of those behaviors. It's been harder to connect. We're on social media, so we're used to now, connecting on Instagram and Facebook and just liking something. But I think that's also caused us to be less likely to verbalize a connection and make eye contact. I think we've come a little bit, away from that. So I love that you said that. So what are some other, maybe 1 or 2 other things that you're most proud of with the family platform, or that you think are differences that you're bringing to the States compared to some of the other software platforms that we currently have?
I think it's a great question. For me, I think this collaborative aspect is really key for us. And that's where I'm saying, like, everything we've built on since has been with that collaboration of the course. So you send a bill, you send your monthly bill, it goes straight into the same newsfeed. Whether you're getting the parents are getting those photo updates, they can one click, a couple of click pay, get that invoice sorted straight away. It's kind of utilizing that great parent engagement that we have on the platform to also make sure that you're spending less time answering the phones, and chasing, not just answering the phones, but picking up the phone and chasing parents at the end of the week, at the end of the month, right?
Yeah.
So I think, building our collaboration into everything we have, whether that's also just being real time, working great across mobile, great across tablet, for all the different reports that we have. I think that's something that sets family a little bit apart from what at least I've seen so far. And then the other thing is we talked a little about our content at the beginning there. We've always wanted to be a little bit more than just software for providers. And we're really trying to extend that out into our approach in the US, both through the content that we're producing, but also through our customer support, right? We know that something goes wrong, you just want to have someone you can pick up the phone to. We have a bunch of amazing colleagues out there in the US office who are there ready to pick up the phone, ready to get back to you immediately. And that's something we really want to continue to differentiate on and to be different than some of the other providers out there as we continue to grow and build this platform together and get that feedback so that we can make something that's going to work for everyone.
Yeah. So there have been challenges with technology in the classroom and having teachers be trained on how to use these types of platforms, how to make sure that their messages don't have typos and that the pictures that they're taking are, good pictures and, look good. They don't have, something on the face of the child. And so there's a lot of training on the part of the directors and owners for the staff, for the teachers who are using the platform day to day. So talk a little bit about, in your typical school that's using Family, what do you recommend with, how is it being used in the classroom by teachers as well as by directors and leaders? What are some things that you advise for best practices around use in and out of the classroom? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think one of the things that it's so funny, it almost sounds like I teed you up for this, but I swear I didn't. We've just, one of the things I was going to mention at the end of the show, things I'm excited about going forward is in a few months' time, we're going to release our very first version of what we call Sidekick. And it's kind of the very first AI-powered kind of feature within our application, and we think the first within kind of any of these early childhood platforms. And what it does to begin with is any newsfeed post that you're making, any message that you're sending out to parents with one click of a button, you get all the spelling and grammar corrected. You get everything changed for the tone that you want it to be. Wow. And the reason why we've introduced this is we have a review system in Family, where you can send posts off for review from a manager before it goes out to parents, because we know that it's a little awkward when you have those typos, whatever, go out to the parents, back to that, parent experience that we care so much about. But that is so unideal for directors who don't want to be professional spell checkers. They've got other things to be doing with their time.
Very much so.
It's also a little demeaning for those educators. Maybe we're dealing with educators who have dyslexia, who struggle to get their spelling and typing correct.
Sure.
But then to be able to correct that all with one click of a button and get back to what they're meant to be doing. I always say my favorite image of Family is a tablet, blank screen on the side of the table, and an educator spending time one-on-one with the child, right?
Yeah.
So they're not here to be, sitting behind an iPad the whole time.
Yeah.
They're here to be with the children, and whatever we can do to make that experience of the things they need to do to build that relationship with parents as easy as possible, the better.
I love that. I'm glad that you brought that out, because utilizing AI is definitely something that a lot of companies are embracing, and including my sister company, Grow Your Center, that I'm a co-founder of. We're utilizing AI with regard to email marketing, text, helping centers with their recruitment efforts, a lot of different ways you can be using it. So I love that you guys are doing that and helping ease the path for educators, because they're busy. They're so busy trying to manage 17 things that are going on in their classroom. We want to just make it as easy as possible to use Family and to use their tech platforms in the most powerful but in effective ways. So I love that.
You'll love this, Kris. Sorry to interject, but when I have a session where I onboard new team members into Family, we have amazing engineers and product people from all over the world who are not necessarily early years people. And the first thing I do is I pull up a slideshow with all of the things that practitioners and managers and directors have to do in a setting. And you start with child development, you start with communication with parents. They're like, I can understand this. By the time I get to number 50 on the list, their jaw is normally on the floor, right? the amount of work that the people in this sector, that the amazing owners and directors out there have to do. They have to be marketeers, they have to be salespeople, they have to be, health and safety officers, they have to be nutritionists. The amount of the breadth of what they have to do, I've never seen in any other industry. And it's why I'm so pumped to get out of bed every morning and make things easy for them, because anything we can do to get them back to the core of what's actually helping them to support the children in their center and grow their business, the better.
Yeah, I love that. And then of course there's the regulatory and compliance piece. So they also have to, they're probably the most highly regulated business in the world. And so they have to track all of their activities. We call them licensing activities. They talk to their licensors, regulators. So how does family support in that whole piece? Do you have any best use practices or anything around that? I know I threw that at you as a one-off question and didn't prep you for it, but.
That's a tricky one. No, I think, so, we have a history of working really closely with our customers in every single market to understand the different licensing requirements.
Yeah.
In the US right now, we're going state by state. As I talked to you earlier, we've learned the hard way that every single state in the US is really a different, in terms of those regulatory requirements. It's almost like thinking about a different country over here, what we're used to in Europe. So, we're focusing state by state, building up with those authorities there exactly what needs to be done. We're working, increasingly with curriculum providers to ensure that they're getting the right materials that need to be in there. We're, of course, making sure that everything is documented. We've got so many examples from history, primarily over in the UK, but we know it's going to be the same over in the US, of having that documentation. Just an example, we had a customer who was saved by the fact that they had proof that a parent had seen something that parent, said they hadn't seen. When you get sent out a message in family, it tells you who has seen each message. And it's just that kind of layer of documentation is also so important to so many of those regulatory requirements. And making sure that you're staying in line with everything that you need to do to meet the requirements of your federal government, your state government, essentially, right?
Yep. Love that. Cool. So what is a piece of advice that people on the podcast might not be expecting to hear from you that they need to hear today?
With this, I think one of the things that I'm trying to work on, it would be so funny if any of my team are listening to this, because they'll tell me that I am giving out advice that I do not follow myself. But I've been trying to learn to say no a lot more. It's the classic thing that everyone credits to Steve Jobs, but I think so many great entrepreneurs and business people are fantastic at saying no. There's this great story where Johnny Ive, the head of design, talks about his first meeting with Steve Jobs, where he said to him, "You need to come into every meeting with me with a list of the things that you've said no to this week." And the next week he comes in and he gives him a list of the things he said no to that week. And Steve Jobs said, you didn't want to do any of those things. I need you to come in with a list of things that you wanted with all your heart to say no to, and you still said, to say yes to, and you still said no.
Right.
Because what we say no to is what we say yes to, and in terms of what opportunities we open up for ourselves by saying no to the things that we're not going to focus on. So I'm really trying to learn to do that better in my own life, in my own work life. And I think it's a great example for growing centers, directors who are trying to learn how to grow their business. Focusing on what you're saying no to is focusing on what you're able to say yes to. So that's something that I think everyone might be able to take away from today, something they might not have heard for a little while. Yeah,
I love that. It's talked about, there's a book called The One Thing, and I forget the name of the author, but that's essentially the idea of it is focusing back on the core, focusing back on the one thing that is your mission, your vision, the thing that's going to drive your company forward, and saying no to everything else. Because everything else that's coming in is just, it's a bright, shiny object. It's distraction. And a lot of our listeners, and myself included, like all entrepreneurs, business owners, many of us, we're here because we get excited about the new, fresh thing, the sexy thing that comes down the pike, the shiny, bright object of the day. But you're right. We can get completely pulled off track and I have done, of course, like every business owner has gotten pulled off track until hopefully somebody on your team is like, hello, remember what we're doing here. It's back to focus. And I love that Steve Jobs story. Very, very cool. Love that. Thank you so much for that reminder. So you have an offer for our listeners, some kind of a special offer that you've queued up just for us. And I want to say thank you for that. So tell us more about that and how people can take advantage of it.
That's right. So we normally do, we're really excited to, as you mentioned, come to the Success Summit in a few weeks' time. I think it's 6 weeks away from when we're recording the podcast. It's right now, if you're listening to this, in 6 weeks' time. But we normally do a nice offer for the attendees there. And I was talking to the team today. I think, we give a percentage off. And I was like, can we do something extra special for those who got, especially to the end of me blabbing on for, however long it's been at this case. So for anyone who goes to our website in the next, I think it's the month or so, I think it's until the end of November, we agreed. If you go onto our website, there's a form on there to sign up for a free demo, talk to our team, see what family's all about, check out this new sidekick thing I've been talking about. And if you put in the code Rockstar, so that's, Rockstar, look at the episode of the podcast and you'll know how to spell that one. We'll give you your first, I think, 3 months free with family. So get started, get into it, see what the fuss is about. And then you'll hopefully be able to see that it's going to, change the way you're doing things at your centers. So that's Rockstar. You have to go to family.co. That's family without the I, because we like to say we're keeping an eye on the children. So that's famly.co, not .com, because Disney owned that domain when we started out. And, we can never get. Hey, we've all been there, right?
Right.
So famly.co. Type in Rockstar into that form and you'll get your first 3 months with family off, and take the opportunity to have one of our great team. You'll get to talk to Brittany or to Owen or to Faith or Jakob, one of our team, and they'll be able to show you through the platform, see some of the cool stuff I've talked about today, show you what family is different, and maybe it's just a chance to get started with something that is new on the scene and a little bit different from what you've seen.
Yeah, love it. Very, very cool. Thanks, Matt. So what are you most looking forward to, besides the hopefully big group of new prospects and clients that are coming in from this podcast? Again, promo code Rockstar. Everybody knows how to spell that. But for yourself, maybe on the personal side, anything you want to share for the remainder of the year and into 2024?
Of course, we're excited to be today at the Childcare Success Summit primarily. And getting to meet a bunch of new people. I'm personally super excited for this sidekick release and to see how that's going to go down, see how this kind of is going to be able to impact a bunch of those educators out there. Also, we've in the later half of this year got our custom reporting module coming out, which is just going to mean that the directors and owners can play right live in family with all of the figures and statistics they want to do, build their own dashboards. That's going to come out towards the end of 2023.
That's cool.
2024.
Yeah.
People are putting a lot of data into family. We have a bunch of kind of self-made reports in there right now, but you want to run your business your way and understand what you're looking at. So that's another really exciting thing for us. And also I've always operated on the principle that, you don't get trust, you earn it. So most of all, I'm excited to put out a load of great content. We're thinking about launching our very first attempt at our podcast, the global podcast. So soon we're going to be battling it out, Kris, for those airwaves. Maybe we'll have to have you on. So I think that's going to come, towards the end of this year. So plenty in the hopper, but also excited to
love it.
To get going with all of that stuff.
Very, very cool. Love it. Well, this has been really fun getting to know you, getting to know about family, getting to know about and having a conversation about parent engagement and technology and best practices and all sorts of good stuff. So thanks for being here today, Matt.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.
Fantastic. And hopefully we'll see you, get to meet you in person one of these days. We'll see the rest of the family crew at the summit in Orlando. So you definitely want to go check out their booth, say hi, and see what they have to show you. Probably can get a quick demo there as well. Definitely go to famly.co, promo code Rockstar. And if you want to sign up, you get your first 3 months free. So thanks to Matt Arnerich. Really appreciate you being here today. And take care, everybody. Matt, take care, man. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Kris.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Take care and God bless. Bye-bye. I hope you liked this episode of Childcare Rockstar Radio. If you did, please share it with someone you know and help spread the word to your friends in our industry and on social media. Childcare business success is my passion, and I'm honored to be on this journey with you. As a thank you for listening, learn more about how to grow your business and make more income with our brand new free quiz, the What's My Number One Income Killer quiz, exclusively for preschool and childcare owners. Take the quiz today at childcarequiz.com to discover what your number one income killer is and how to solve it. Take care and God bless.